In a village perched between the folds of rolling hills and whispering woods, there lived a woman named Shara. She was a figure known to all, not for her grace or kindness, but for the bitterness that clung to her like a second skin. Her heart, it seemed, had long ago turned into a barren field where seeds of hatred were sown and nurtured with a twisted dedication. Shara had 3 children, whom she raised alone within the walls of a time-worn house that creaked and moaned with secrets. These children, 2 sons and a daughter, became her unwitting disciples, their minds impressionable canvases to her toxic paint. She would fill their days with tales not of heroes and fairies, but of grudges and prejudices. To her, the world was not a playground but a battlefield, and she taught her children to distrust, to dislike, to disdain. As the seasons changed and the children grew, so did the shadow of Shara's influence. Her sons, once joyful toddlers, turned into sullen young men, their eyes always wary, their words sharp as thorns. Her daughter, who had the makings of gentleness, grew cold and distant, a mirror of Shara's own frost. Yet the universe watches, and often in silence, it teaches. A series of unfortunate events unfolded. A betrayal, a lost job, a heartbreak. Shara's family found themselves on the receiving end of the very hate they had been taught to dispense. The village, tired of their malice, turned against them. The harshness they met with was a bitter harvest of the seeds Shara had sown, a cruel reflection of what they had put into the world. In that dark time, a transformation seemingly took place in Shara. The weight of isolation and the pain of seeing her children suffer cracked open something within her. She felt the stirrings of regret, the pangs of guilt. The mother, in a quest for redemption, began to change her ways. She started to preach love, forgiveness, and compassion. Her children, resistant at first, slowly began to mirror the change. The youngest son, in particular, embraced the new teachings wholeheartedly, becoming a testament to the possibility of change. The village noticed, and healing began. Shara's family was gradually welcomed back into the fold. Trust started to weave its delicate threads once more, and for a time, peace blossomed like a rare flower in the desert. But some stories refuse a happy ending. Old habits, especially those etched deep in the heart, are not so easily shed. The facade of reformation began to crack, revealing beneath it the unaltered core of Shara's resentment. A minor squabble with a neighbor, a simple misunderstanding, and Shara's old venom surged forth with renewed vigor. She lashed out, her words dripping with the old spite, her actions guided by the same loathsome spirit that had once defined her. Her children, confused and heartbroken, watched as Shara returned to her former self. The youngest son, who had championed the cause of change the most, felt the sting of betrayal. He realized, with a sorrow that seemed to age him beyond his years, that some hearts refuse the light, choosing instead the darkness that has become familiar, comfortable even. The village, once willing to forgive, did not forget the lessons of the past. They retreated from Shara and her family, leaving them to the lonely fate they had chosen. Shara, with her bitterness restored, became an embodiment of the adage that some, like the most resilient of serpents, do not learn or change, no matter the cost. Her children, bearing the burden of their mother's choices, had to make their own way in the world, learning their lessons not from her teachings, but from the harsh teacher that is consequence. And as for Shara, she remained in her house among the hills, the whispering woods standing as silent witnesses to a life that could have been lived differently, a tale of warning to any who might walk the path of hatred.